Hello there, running-ears. It's Manny, and boy, do we got a lot to cover. We just finished the first of 6 Run Disney events coming up this season. So we just finished it, and I am wearing the new merchandise, the Halloween merchandise, which I think is pretty cool. So we're going to go over everything that happened. We're going to review. We're going to break it down just to see what went on. But before we do, please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel because we got a lot of stuff coming up. We got Wine and Dine is coming up next. We're going to have, after that, it's going to be Marathon Weekend, Princess, so forth and so on. We're going to have a lot of information that's going to drop. It's going to be a lot of medal reveals, a lot of stuff like that. And actually, I think that we're going to reveal probably later on this year, or at least early next year, they're going to reveal the 2025-2026 season. Because again, early next year, probably about March, April, we're going to start registering for those races. February, March, April, around there. And so please subscribe to the channel. Please keep asking questions. Please keep commenting down below. Your comments mean a lot, and I love interacting with you. As you guys saw at the expo, and I'll go over that in a little bit. But let's move on. So the first thing we're going to cover is, just to get this out of the way, is the tragedy that happened this past weekend. I didn't comment a lot on social media. I didn't put anything on my page. And it wasn't because I don't feel anything. It was because I started reading, and I always think to myself, I want to make sure that I get all the facts before I put stuff out there. A lot of people are putting stuff out there already, which may not be true. So I said, let me start looking at what's going on. And then I saw posts from the family members saying, please respect our privacy. So I'm not even going to mention the name. It's really, really sad. It's a sad situation. Unfortunately, this is the 5th run, not Disney run, but 5th overall run where somebody has passed on that I've been involved with, so that I finished that run. And one time I actually got to see the person collapse and found out the next day that they had passed on. It is not something that you want to happen. It's not something that happens regularly. That's a good part about it. But we're going to get to what the circumstances were, or possibly could be later on. But to the family of that runner, please, my deepest condolences. I feel for you as a young person, and I'm just going to move on. But let's just pray for that person's family. So we're going to transition from that going into the runs themselves. So what I wanted to do was set up like an analogy, something that we could look at. So for example, a ride at Disney or Universal, whatever park you want to go to for our purposes, because we do run Disney. It's a Disney ride. You get on that ride, and it's always good when you have that not waiting that long in line. You get to experience the queue, get a real good feel for the ride. The cast members are all welcoming. Every single scene when you're getting on the ride, whether it be an Omni Mover, whatever it is, trackless ride, it just goes seamless. You finish, there's no skips, there's nothing. It's a great ride. At the very end, you sit there going like, man, that was great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go over the day, starting with the Expo 5K, 10K, and the half marathon, and see if we turned it into a ride. Would it be a seamless ride, or would it be something that had audio problems, had visual problems, we were delayed, something like that? So we're going to start off with the Expo. So I'm going to say this right off the back. I had a blast at the Expo. It was a lot smoother than it had been, but it also was because I met some of you guys out there, and we got on rides together. We actually went to the expo together. It was a lot of fun just interacting. I believe it was the first time for some of you guys, and I hope to God that you guys had a great experience. I know I had a great experience overall. It seemed a lot smoothness. Going back to that ride analogy, it was one of those where it would be pretty seamless, maybe a small hiccup here and there, but it wasn't that bad. So I'll start off with the virtual queue. So for the virtual queue, we actually got number 33. So I kept saying, we're in Club 33. So we were looking at the app, and at first it started 1 to 3. Then a little while later, it said 1 to 7. Then a little while while later it said 1 to 10, and afterward I looked at, I swear this was funny, because I said, yeah, it's going to be about an hour or so before we get in. Not even 5 minutes later, we get tagged that it was our turn. We were actually in the parks eating, so we had to like go back, finish eating, go back over there so to get in our turn. So it went pretty quickly. Once we got there, it took about 10-15 minutes to get in. When we got there, it was all the merchandise that we were looking at was still there. Some of it was still there the last day because I was able to go the second day too, and I saw some of the merchandise on sale at some of the resorts. But overall, the expo went well. The merchandise was there. We transitioned straight into the bib pickup. For some reason or other, I'm in the popular corrals, so I was in the longer lines. Everybody else kind of went a little bit faster than I did. Got to meet some more people out there. We went back to pick up our shirts, which was pretty quick also. And then I just walked around the expo and of course said hi to Jeff. How can you not go and say hello to Jeff? So if you haven't already done that, whenever Jeff is there, just go up to him and talk to him. Jeff Galloway is an awesome human being, great, great for the sport and everything. And of course, he's the spokesperson or one of the spokespeople for Run Disney. Just go up to him and talk to him. But that was the expo. What was your experience? Did you have a pretty seamless experience? I was figuring that because we went back on day 2 for some friends of mine, and it was even more seamless. We went in pretty quickly. So what was your experience like? So now we go to the 5K. The 5K was very interesting because it started the days where we were hot. It was going to be a little bit more warm. So we were starting at 5 a.m., but we were running inside the parks. So there was a lot of places that we had that had air conditioning. But there was only basically 4 corrals, if I remember correctly. It was A, B, C, and D. I was in C, so I got to start a little bit later. So we started. It was hot, but again, it's only 3.1 miles. Took it a little bit easier. I try to get some, I always try to get at least one character picture, and the characters from Luca were there, so I was able to get that picture. Wasn't a long line, so I was able to do that. There was some congestion. In a 5K, there's gonna be congestion. If you guys have never done a 5K and you're watching these videos and trying to figure out, should I do a 5K? Just go there understanding that there's going to be congestion because people are actually stopping to take pictures everywhere. So they're going to be walking, a lot of walkers. So there's going to be congestion. So make sure that you understand that. So the only thing that I thought of was maybe because there was only about 5 characters roughly, if they could add a 6th or a 7th, because that might spread out the lines, because again, the lines were so long at places. Again, it's not time, so it doesn't really matter. But if you add another couple of characters, people would move on, get the other character. So there would be a little bit more of a better distribution of runners. But overall, I do love the fact that we start in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. I think it's awesome. We don't get to do that at Disney World. I think it was great. If, again, going back to the ride, I think it was basically almost seamless. Maybe a little bit of an audio problem here, maybe a little stall here, but on the most part, it was pretty seamless. So now we're gonna go to the 10K. So that was Saturday morning, and it got even a little bit hotter, a little bit warmer. So I decided to start in the back with the dead last starters. There was a few reasons why, and one of the main ones were, you got to remember when it is hot and you have a lot of people together, the body heat goes up. So your internal body temperature will go up. Now you're doing a longer run, 6.2 miles. Although again, we're in the park, so there's parts that have air conditioning coming out so we can cool down a little bit, but it's still going to be hot. So that was the first time I did see somebody as we came around and we were back in I can't remember what it was, the corral that I was in, but I was in the very, very back. Somebody came around and they collapsed. And they were okay from what I can tell. They were able to put them in a wheelchair and they wheelchaired them off, but they seemed to be okay. Later on, I did see somebody tumble and fall. The person actually, from what I can gather, broke their nose, but actually finished the next day. But that was the only thing that I saw. I kept hearing a lot of stuff that a lot of people were passing out or tumbled or whatever, but I only saw those 2. Besides that, again, especially early on, there is a lot of congestion. That is the run that I ran with Peg Leg Pete. Yes, he was there, and yes, he behaved. I made sure that he behaved. He wasn't cutting people off or anything. So, but we were running together, and so we actually got to see it, and he actually told me afterward, it was his first Disney run, And he said, yeah, now I know what you're talking about, this congestion. I didn't know until you're here, but it does get congested. And so I really start suggesting that, again, if you're walking, even if you're power walking, get more to the right, let the runners go to the left. There is a lot of people that are way back there, like myself, who can run, so we try to run. We do zigzag here and there, but it's because we're trying to avoid, and there's walkers everywhere, and so they're kind of spread out, so it's almost like a pinball machine. You're going everywhere, so you're trying to avoid that, so that's what it is. And so you can see the videos. I mean, I have that there. Going back, we had the characters. We stopped at Peg Leg Pete because we had to. Peg Leg Pete with Peg Leg Pete, that was perfect. It was perfect timing, so we were able to get that. But overall, I think this is one of those rides, going back to the ride analogy, where it had a couple of other hiccups, but not that much. It was actually pretty seamless overall. So now we get to Sunday, the half marathon. Now, during the day, because I had actually seen that they were going to move up the kids run, so I'm going to go back to that one. The kids runs were moved up from, I can't remember the start time, but they moved them up to 8:15. I did actually see that some parents didn't even see that, so they weren't even able to make it. So, you know, that's a hit and a half right there, that it was going to get too hot that day. It was very, very hot that day, Saturday afternoon, going into the evening, going into the morning. So it was pretty hot. I believe, if I'm correctly, it was about 78 degrees with about 80% humidity. I did decide to start in my corral, which was in the second to the last corral, and I stayed on the side trying to get away from people, again, to not get the body heat going on, that extreme body heat going on early. So I was trying to get going before and that's the other thing. I did not see any balloon ladies. From my understanding, they were balloon umbrellas. So the balloon ladies or umbrella ladies, I should say. So that's what people were saying that they saw. I did not see them. So we started off, and it was very, very hot. Hot, hot, hot. So that song was right. Reeling hot, hot, hot. We were feeling hot, hot, hot the whole time. So I actually kept thinking that they were going to cut the course. And I did hear rumblings in the background that they already had plans on what they were going to do with what they were going to cut out. One of the things I heard is Angel Stadium. If you hear me on the video, I never said I didn't want to run it. As a matter of fact, I wanted to run an Angel Stadium. I was hoping that we could, but and I've said this before, the betterment. So when we make when we have a problem, we have a solution that's going to benefit the majority of the people, even if it's not me. And so in this scenario, I know what I could do, and I know that I could probably finish this kind of run, but there was a lot of people that I know could not. So I was hoping that they shortened the course, but they never did. So we'll go over it. We were in the parks. That was actually fine in my opinion. There was a lot of, again, a lot of places that had open doors, open windows, so we were able to get some air conditioning. Once we went out into Anaheim, it just became a scorcher. It became very, very hot towards the end. So this is past, for me, past Angel Stadium. That concrete, that asphalt became so hot that my feet felt like they were on fire. It was that was the feeling that I had from then on, all the way until I took my shoes off in my hotel room. So it just got hot, hot, hot. Did I see people pass out? No. Did I see people going into tents to look for medical attention? Yes, that I did see. I did not see anybody pass out. I did not see anybody hit the ground. But again, that was just my perspective. I'm hoping that was the majority. I do know I heard a few people mention that this was going on. I'm going to go back and say this. I do not know what happened behind the scenes, and I won't know what happens. Neither of us, none of us will know what happened behind the scenes. So it's hard to say, hey, we would have done this or we shouldn't do this. The first thing I would have thought of was, for the safety of the runners, is to shorten the course. But then also, there's runners that are out there that want to run because they've trained, and they've trained in the heat. So they say, man, I just want to do this. I just want to finish this. And so I understand both sides. So whenever you sit there and you think, oh, they should have done this, they shouldn't have done that, it's a very difficult decision because you are wrong no matter what you say. So if you make the decision to cut the course, there's going to be a lot of people are going to be angry because you cut the course. If you don't cut the course, there's going to be a lot of angry people because people got sick, they passed out, and of course we all know what happened. So it's a really, really hard decision. It's a decision that I really would not want to be part of, because I know what I would do, but it would be something that's again, that it would just be my opinion, my choice from my experiences. But again, I just feel for them, the race director, trying to figure out what to do in this kind of run. Overall, it was a ride that really had a lot of bumps, a lot of stoppages, a lot of audio being off. So this day was a little bit off. So if you guys ran the half marathon, what did you think? What would you have done? Would you have cut the course? Would you have said, you know what, the heck with it, I'm gonna run it no matter what because I trained for it and I wanna make sure that I earned this medal? So what would you have done? Please comment down below. So I always do these little segments at the end: the bad, the good, and the great, the magical at the very end. And so the bad, it's hard with this one because the bad is going to be the temperature, the weather. It was extremely hot. Now this is an anomaly though. If you looked at the temperatures coming into the race the week before, and then the temperature starting basically today, a few days after the run, you're going to see that the temperatures are actually really, really good. They're basically runnable. They're going to be great for running, but they were not during that short period of time. And so that's bad. But again, in my opinion, I think I would have shortened the course, but again, that's just my opinion. And it wouldn't have been something that I wanted to do because I actually wanted to run through Angel Stadium, want to do that. It was just to make sure that runners would have the best experience possible. That was the only reason that I would shorten the course myself. But the weather is something that is not something that the race director, the people putting on the race, they cannot control that. And people were asking, can you postpone it? No, you can't, because people are already flying over. So you can't say, okay, we're just going to postpone it for 1 week. It's not like one of those. It's a destination race. So most of the runners are coming from different places around the United States, around the world. So it's not like one of those 5Ks local that you can just say, okay, we're just going to switch it to days. We're going to switch later. We're going to do whatever it is, because most of the runners are local. That's not the way it is. So you could not do that either. So the other thing that I thought was bad is that, again, we ran in places that were not very well lit. During the 10K, if you watch it, I actually go into a pothole early on and I turned my ankle, but my ankle ended up, thank God, it was fine. So that was actually pretty good on my behalf. But then there was places that weren't lit. And then, of course, when we're running in Anaheim, there's a lot of potholes, there's a lot of stuff on the streets, and those little things, I don't know what they're called, in the middle of the street, the reflectors, a lot of people were kicking them, and I did see somebody go down. From my understanding, there was a lot more people that went down, but this is where Disney has to basically warn us ahead of time, and they do have to have lights properly lit. Now, I noticed that from the 10K to the half, they actually lit up more stuff, but they should do that on a regular basis. The other place that I thought Disney can really, really work on was the fact is that they now are using, well, in California it was a little bit different anyways, but they're now using more cast members and paid. They're not volunteers anymore, so they're paid staff. And you could feel the difference. There was no passion, or not a lot of passion behind it. There was places where I went to water stop. You can actually see on the video where I went to a couple of the water stops and they had nothing there. It was more for the Powerade. I had one where they actually poured a couple of cups and the guy in front of me took both of them. So I had no Powerade. I just kept going. So this is a place where they have to kind of work on. So this is where I actually think to myself, you need to get a good leader, somebody who actually has done these races before, or at least experience, to understand, so they can kind of coach them how to do the waters. It seemed like they were better in the water part than the water cups than it was for the Powerade. So again, get a great leader out there, because that's what we did whenever we had runs. There was somebody who was in lead of making sure that everything was running smoothly. And so when there was somebody that was strong doing that, then we never had an issue. When somebody was weak doing that, we would run out, so people would be scrambling. And remember, people are running and it's a timed run, so you got to give them their drinks in a timely manner. Another thing that we got to work on is running etiquette. Now, I'm going to give this a pass right now because there was a lot of new runners who had never run before. But it happened to me twice by the same person. They turned right into me a couple of times. They turned right into me because they were waiting for somebody. Then they went off ahead. Then they did the same thing again. And the second time I kind of told them, I said, hey, you need to not do that. You need to raise your hand, look over your shoulders before you stop. If you run back into me, I actually told her, imagine if you run back into me, both of us can get hurt. And since my momentum is going faster, I can actually hurt you. And I don't want to hurt you. So please. And so this is the kind of stuff that over time experience, you start learning what to do. So I thought that was going to be something that needs to be worked on. With that said, there was another one that, and people caught this on video. They actually even messaged me going like, wow, how did this happen? So what happens is you need to wear your bib. So if you didn't get pictures, it's because your bib was squashed, your bib was to the side. So in this scenario, I actually witnessed this. When I went and I took a picture, the person in front of me had the bib on their side and they turned this way. So they turned this way and they were taking a picture like this. Guess what? No pictures are going to show up. And I just, if you watch the film, I'm actually giggle for a little bit. And I should have said something like, you maybe turn back. That actually also should fall on the photographers. They should tell them, hey, I didn't see your bib. But it was pretty obvious. I doubt that this person got anything. Now, there's a chance that the photographer was taking pictures while she was turning over, so might have gotten a few of them, and I hope she did because I want you guys to get your pictures. But remember, show your bib. There's a reason why you show your bib. And I see a lot of people sitting there going like, well, I didn't get any pictures or hardly any pictures. The reason is, again, you did not show your bib. Every time I'm running, if you ever run with me, you watch me. Of course, you're watching me from my point of view, but if you're watching from a different point of view, I always turn and I make sure that my bib is showing so they can get my bib number and I can get my pictures. So now we're going to progress into the good and going into the magical. So the good starting off is that we have our runs back at Disneyland, and I don't think they're going to stop anytime soon. I'm not sure if they're going to add a third one. I don't think they are, but it already has been said that on the website it basically said we'll see you next year. Look at the future for future information for the next Halloween run. So I think they're going to keep it as Halloween. So now we are back at Disneyland, and it looks like for good. So another good is I like the 5 and 10K courses because we run mainly inside the parks. We got a lot of stuff, even the behind the scenes. They put up scenes, had DJs. It was actually pretty cool. So there was almost always something to see, and that was very cool. Like the beginning of the 10K for the first mile or so, we don't see anything until we get to the Pixar Place Hotel. And so once we get there, then we start running in there, but it was a little over a mile. But besides that, the 5K is basically all park. 10K after the first mile or so is all park. Once we get to about 5.5, we exit, then it's not. But besides that, it's a lot of park, so that's actually good. Now moving into the magical. Am I the only one that fell in love with the third shift, the third shift crew? They were all back there. They're the ones that helped put this race on, and they were out there cheering us on. It was great to see them. They were there all 3 days. If you watch my videos, you will see them all 3 days. They were fantastic. They were magical. They're the reason that I think that the Run Disney events are more magical than just any other events. Now, I cannot go any further without mentioning the greatest, most magical thing that I experienced over this long weekend, and that is meeting you guys, hanging out with you guys. So I go there, and a lot of times I go there on my own, or I meet people there, but I am able to meet new people, and I'm able to hang out with you, and it is a lot of fun. I enjoy getting to know people. I enjoy hearing the stories. So if you have not done a Run Disney event, or if you have done it and haven't paid attention, pay attention to the stories. That's why I love Riley Claremont so much. Riley is always talking about stories. He's finding stories. He's sharing them with people, these success stories, these stories of overcoming. I love listening to people saying, I never thought I could do this. And then, I started watching a video. I started watching this. I started doing this. And all of a sudden I'm here. And this is great. This is fantastic. Now I'm going to experience what everybody else does. And that's, I think, is to me the most magical thing, is getting to know you guys. I know that in January, I'm going to be running with Jolly Jonathan. I'm looking forward to that. We're running the Dopey together, but this is the kind of stuff that Run Disney brings. It brings a lot of people together from all walks of life, all around the world, just from different backgrounds, puts them together with one common goal to overcome whatever it is that we're doing, and it's a lot of fun. And that's why I have brought up this group, the Runnineers, because that's what we do. Where the course encourages, we try to help out. If you notice, I chit chat with people when I'm running on the course. A lot of times it's just to pass the time, just to get this distraction and so forth and so on. But it's a great thing. And again, the most magical part of my long weekend is hanging out, meeting you guys, just interacting with you guys. So before we close out, I wanted to add something that's just different. This run was very, very unique in the sense that we had extreme weather. Yes, we've had extreme weather before, but it was almost like we had more coverage because we were within certain boundaries that Disney could control versus stuff that Disney could not control. With that said, there's going to be at least a few of you guys out there, and even if, whoever it is that's out there that sees this video and interacts with people that this happened to, please let them know this. There is no shame that you couldn't finish this run. It was extremely hard. I was in a lot of pain towards the end, and I'm experienced doing this. So I knew I could finish it, but I knew what the pain threshold was. There's a lot of you guys who have not gone through that. I feel for you, and I wanted to share this and say, look, you should feel no shame whatsoever if you didn't finish it. If you went out and you gave it everything you got, and you got to, I've heard people I got up to mile 11, I got up to mile 12, and then after that, okay, you did it. You did the best that you could, and that's all you can ask of yourself. So if you're one of those people that couldn't make it for whatever reason, it's okay. This is one of those runs that it's okay. And what we want to do, and this is what makes it a successful run, is learn. So you're going to learn that, hey, I didn't hydrate enough. This is what I should have done. I should have taken more Powerades. I should have done the night before. I shouldn't have had that drink the night before. Whatever it is that you're going to learn, you're now going to take it. So in case next year we have the same circumstances, it comes out and we have extreme heat, you are now going to be prepared for that. And that's another reason why we do these events, is to learn, grow, and then go do them again. So with that said, is there anything I missed? Anything that you guys want me to cover? That was amazing. I loved the whole weekend, even though it was extreme, which I've gone over. And I'm just going to turn it over to you guys. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about? Any stories you want to share? That's one of the things that I thought about as this channel progresses, is maybe start having sharing some stories, some success stories, because again, this is your channel, and I want to make sure that we share your success stories. And one last thing before I go, it looks like we are going to do some kind of charity event, something to help raise money if you're doing Run Disney events. Now, it should be during a wine and dine weekend, and it might be the day of the 5K. So we would meet afterward and do something there to raise some funds for you guys. I'm already set with mine, but I'm gonna help some friends of mine, and I thought this would be a good idea to bring people together. So look for future videos where I'm gonna explain what we're gonna be doing. But if you guys are raising funds for the Marathon Weekend, Princess Weekend, Springtime Surprise, Disneyland, maybe even if it's early enough and that we start registering for next year, which I don't think we're going to, you guys can start raising funds, and we will back you up with this channel with a lot of what we can do. Maybe again, get some more visibility so you guys can raise the funds. But look for that in future videos. We're gonna try something, and it looks like it's gonna be November 1st, and so keep looking at information about that. But without further ado, I'm gonna wish you guys the best day ever. Thank you very much. Guys, create a magical day, create a magical run, and guys, see you sooner than later.